This is Greg Cook with the National Weather Service in Spokane. It's January 8th. This is a weekly weather briefing, and we're going to be talking about some of the high impact weather that is expected across the inland Northwest for the rest of the week. Here is our weather risk outlook. It is a matrix showing the potential impacts for various locations across the inland Northwest. For today, Monday, we're going to talk about light snow, and during the briefing, we're going to kind of give you an idea of when that light snow will begin to accumulate. Tuesday is one of our high impact days, namely for the Cascade Mountains and some of the other mountain passes across the region. We're looking at blizzard type conditions with strong winds gusting 35 to 50 miles per hour, along with some blowing and drifting snow in the mountains. For the lowlands, we will also see some significant impacts with some rain and windy conditions on Tuesday. Our next high impact period will be in the Friday to Saturday timeframe with the arrival of some gusty, blustery northeast winds with an Arctic front coming down. So we will highlight the impacts of that wind and the cold temperatures anticipated for the weekend. Okay, first off, our first round of snow will develop Monday in the midday and afternoon time frame, spread from west to east across the region, and this snow will persist into the day Tuesday. We have an area highlighted here in pink. This is an area where we anticipate precipitation to begin as snow, but transition to rain. So there are some areas of uncertainty in here. That transition from snow to rain will also be accompanied by some windy conditions. So this area may see a narrow opportunity for some blowing snow before that snow gets settled by warmer temperatures and windy conditions. All right, let's talk about the onset of the snow. This is a weather model we look at. It is called the High Resolution Ensemble Forecast, and this is going to give us an idea of the time frame that we're looking at for the onset of some snowy conditions. So around noon today, we're looking for light snow to be occurring along the Cascade Passes and into the east slopes of the Cascades. And some of this is developing a little earlier than this model suggests, but this blue area is generally where we anticipate accumulating snow to begin. As we step through this forecast, by the time we get to the 3 o'clock hour, 23 UTC corresponds to 3 p.m. We're looking for that light snow to be spreading into eastern Washington, and by 4 p.m. we're looking at the potential for some accumulating snow to begin in the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene metro areas. The heaviest snow will begin after sunset, and it looks like between the hours of, say, 6 p.m. and around 10 or 11 p.m. tonight is when we will see our heaviest, most persistent snow. As we go toward midnight, which is 8 UTC, which is right here, we'll start to see the potential for a transition from snow to rain. And that warmer temperatures and rain is expected to penetrate as far north as places like Colville and possibly Sandpoint, Coeur d'Alene, and into the Silver Valleys by the time we get to around 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. 15 UTC, this is 7 a.m. in the morning. A lot of the precipitation will be starting to exit the region by that time, at least the most significant stuff. But still, the Idaho Panhandle Mountains and the Cascades will be receiving moderate to heavy snow by the time we get to the early to mid-morning hours tomorrow. And we're looking at a perpetuation of snow in the mountains with a favorable westerly flow and unstable atmospheric profile. So accumulating snow all through the day tomorrow. This is 4 p.m. tomorrow. Excuse me. And we're looking for a continuation of heavy snow in the mountains, namely the Cascades. So let's go back to our presentation here, and we've talked a little bit about the timing of this first round of snow. Let's talk a little bit more about amounts. Let's dig into some of the details here. And if you haven't visited this page before, weather.gov/OTX/winter, it's up here in the URL. It's a good place to gather all kinds of things for snow and winter forecasts from the National Weather Service. I'm going to click on probabilistic snowfall forecast here, and I'm going to look at these three tiles. The first one I'm going to look at is the expected snowfall forecast from the National Weather Service, and this was updated at 6:38 this morning. And this is what our forecasters believe will be the most likely scenario for snow amounts across the region. We've already mentioned the uncertainty about the transition from snow to rain. So the areas from, say, Leavenworth through Wenatchee all the way to the Spokane metro area and even up into some of these valleys could have some considerable uncertainty depending on the timing of when we change over from snow to rain. So 3 to 4 inches for the Spokane area, about 4 to 6 seems like the most likely scenario for this snowfall event, with most of this falling well before the morning rush hour. This is our 10% probability. This is our high-end threshold. This is kind of the ceiling, we think, of what this storm could dump across the region. So you can see some notable differences from Wenatchee up into the Wenatchee Valley toward Leavenworth, where this high-end forecast could be as much as a foot of snow in Leavenworth, as much as 5 inches in Wenatchee, as much as 6 or 10 inches in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, respectively. So this has a low probability of happening, only about a 10% chance, but it is within the window of plausible scenarios here. Let's take a look at the other end of the spectrum. This is the low end threshold. This has a 90% chance of occurring. So we expect a 90% chance of the Spokane International Airport to get about 2 inches of snow. Coeur d'Alene Airport about 4 inches of snow. So this is the low end amount. Odds are that we will exceed these amounts, but this is kind of our low end threshold here on this map. Next slide. Another way to look at potential snowfall outcomes is to look at these snow probability charts. And here we have, taking a look at the Spokane Metro to go along with what we talked about. It looks like at least the higher elevations of the Spokane Metro have about a 75% chance of getting at least 2 inches of snow. Chances of getting 6 inches or more for the Spokane Airport is relatively low, only about a 23% chance. But you can see there are some pretty considerable distributions in outcome as far as these areas that are kind of on the edge of where we're expecting that snow to change to rain. Okay, we have snowfall probabilities for our mountains. Our mountains are going to be the most significantly impacted with this first round of snow Monday into Tuesday. And Stevens Pass is at the top of our list for getting hammered with snow. We have almost a 100% chance, we have 98% probability of Stevens Pass getting 2 feet of snow or more from this event. One outlier here is Sherman Pass. This is in north central Washington along Highway 20. This Sherman Pass is at times in a precipitation shadow, and this system is coming from west to east, which often is a formula for Sherman Pass not to get as much snow as other passes across the region. And we have only an 8% chance of getting 8 inches or more at Sherman Pass. There are also some pretty significant variances in elevation. You can see 4th of July Pass isn't all that far away from Lookout Pass on a map, but Lookout Pass elevation of 4,700 feet versus 4th of July Pass at an elevation closer to 3,000 feet. You can see the probabilities are much higher for big-time snow amounts at Lookout Pass, with a 76% probability of 18 inches versus only 8% chance at 4th of July. All right, we've talked with our Department of Transportation partners, and heavy snow in the mountains is something that we're relatively accustomed to. Some things that make that set high impact events apart from lower impact snow events is this snowfall rate. This is our high resolution ensemble forecast here. We're going to look at the probability of snowfall rates of 1 inch per hour or more. And the higher probabilities are going to show up in red in this particular model output. So through the afternoon today, we're starting to see some higher probabilities of heavy snow around Snoqualmie Pass right in through here. Stevens Pass is located right about here. Lookout Pass is located in this little notch here along the border between Montana and Idaho. So tonight, just after sunset, this is 5 o'clock, we're starting to see those probabilities of 1 inch snowfall rates increase as we step through this time frame. And we really begin to see those probabilities along the Cascades ramp up about 1 a.m. this morning and continue until right before sunrise. So our sunrise is going to be right about here at 15 Zulu, and you can see some high snowfall potential rates in the Idaho Panhandle mountains as well. And then there will be another potential round of 1 inch per hour accumulation rates beginning tomorrow afternoon. This is about 1 p.m., continuing through 4 p.m., and finally beginning to dwindle about 9 or 10 p.m. in the evening tomorrow. So snowfall rates can have a pretty significant bearing on whether travelers are going to be able to make it over passes without any issues. We also have increasing avalanche concerns. We have a pretty low snowpack relative to what's normal across the region, so we haven't seen a lot of this so far this year. But with the addition of 2 to 3 feet of new snow over the next 48 hours over the Cascades, the Northwest Avalanche Center has a moderate to considerable avalanche danger. And if you're looking for snow avalanche information from the Northwest Avalanche Center, the URL is down here. North Idaho Avalanche Center, or Idaho Panhandle Avalanche Center, excuse me, has also raised an avalanche watch in effect for the Selkirks, Cabinets, St. Regis, and Silver Valley and Kootenai areas. So they're looking for conditions to deteriorate, and I would imagine that the colors on this map will be changing over the next 24 to 48 hours. One of the things that adds to avalanche danger is strong winds. That sets up layers and drifting in the mountains. So the windy conditions that are forecast to develop during the wee hours of the morning on Tuesday and persisting into Tuesday evening will have a significant impact for our mountains. There is a blizzard warning in effect for the Cascades for the Tuesday and Tuesday night time frame. There are also similar warnings out for the Blue Mountains of Southeast Washington as well, with the combination of heavy snow and a lot of wind on it. For the remainder of the area, it's going to be windy in our lowlands as well. There may be a narrow of opportunity, hour or two of potential blowing and drifting of new snow that falls over the Palouse, West Plains, and parts of the Panhandle late tonight into tomorrow morning before it warms up and rain falls on that snow. So It doesn't look like a prolonged drifting event, but there is the potential for some impacts with that during the wee hours of the morning. So a lot of our area is expecting 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. That's the highest probability of what will happen. And that is generally accompanied with minor impacts, including isolated to scattered power outages, downed tree limbs, and the potential for some crosswinds for high-profile vehicles. And this wind threat is going to continue through the day Tuesday into Tuesday evening. There is a small chance of 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts in some of our areas, and that starts to up the ante to more numerous power outages and the potential for moderate tree damage in some of our areas. So keep that in mind. Okay, once we get beyond our first snow event, which will be winding down Tuesday night, we will have the potential for another prolonged period of snowfall beginning Wednesday and carrying into Thursday. This looks like it will again be the most significant over our mountains, but there will be a good probability of additional light, more fluffy snow accumulations across the eastern third of Washington into the Palouse and some of our valleys into the Idaho Panhandle. Even Lewiston has the opportunity for some measurable snow with this event. So one of the things that we will be monitoring when we get into Thursday and Friday is the arrival of an Arctic air mass and gusty north to northeast winds. We're looking at the potential for sustained winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour through the northern Idaho Panhandle into the Spokane area and into the Palouse. We'll see some similar winds across the Columbia Basin and down the Okanagan Valley. But our concern is if we get this light, fluffy snow Wednesday into Thursday and get that wind on top of it, we will have a much more a snowpack much more vulnerable to being blown and drifted around once we get into Thursday night and Friday. All right, how much colder is it going to get? We've seen some crazy numbers floating around on social media about how cold it's going to get, and there's still a considerable amount of uncertainty about how cold it's going to get. The two things that we can say about this right now is that there's a high confidence that this is going to be much colder temperatures by this weekend than we have seen region-wide so far this winter. Our confidence is still relatively low of the magnitude of the cooling, and our forecast here is probably on the conservative side of what our actual air temperatures will be. So let's pick out Spokane here. We have a couple nights here with the potential for below zero low temperatures with highs in the single digits to teens. And a lot of times the sky cover that we get with these frontal passages and how much cold air gets dumped west of the Continental Divide is those are tough forecasts. So stay tuned. These numbers are likely to change a little bit over the next several days. As far as our probabilities for dipping below zero, these are the probabilities that were generated early Monday morning. It looks like there's about a 76% chance that the Spokane area will dip to zero or below by Saturday morning. And Saturday morning looks like that will be our coldest morning. So other probabilities, similar chances, 74% for Pullman. Let's go up to Sandpoint. There's a 90% chance that they'll be below zero by Saturday morning, and those chances or probabilities dwindle a little bit as you get into the basin. 50% chance for Moses Lake and only about a 31% for Tri-Cities. But just to give you kind of a peek into what we are looking at as forecasters at the Weather Service, here are some potential outcomes from some of the models that we look at, and this is the low temperature forecast for Saturday. A lot of the models are kind of hovering around this midpoint of Pullman being, around 1 degree for the low temperature on Saturday morning. But there are are some models that are as warm as a cold or low temperature of 24, and others that are as cold as 13 below. So there's a lot of wiggle room in there for us to potentially have something different occur. So that is kind of a peek into some of the challenges that we have as forecasters predicting an Arctic outbreak like this. Wind chills will be a big deal with this. The biting north winds combined with temperatures here will likely produce wind chills of 10 to 15 below zero in a lot of our areas. And once you start to get below 15 below zero for a wind chill, that's when it can really accelerate the impacts of frostbite and exposure to the wind. How long is this very cold temperature regime going to last? Here's the 8 to 15 or 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. It's valid from January 15th through the 21st. It looks like our temperatures will be bottoming out over the weekend and beginning to moderate early to mid part of next week. So it does look like we will be trending closer to normal by the time we get into the 18th, 19th, and 20th timeframe of this period. But if you look at that 7 days on whole, there is a 50 to 60% chance that our region will be below average during that time frame. And there's good news for our low snowpack that we should be getting some snow during this time period as well, with the outlook leaning above average for precipitation during that time frame. So in summary, some of our final bullet points here is that we're looking for widespread snow today, Monday into Tuesday. Localized blizzard conditions in our mountainous regions, most notably the Cascade Passes and in southeast Washington in the Blues. We'll have some more snow Wednesday and Thursday, and our confidence is growing that it will be quite cold for the weekend, but the jury is still out on whether it will be any type of near record-setting type of cold. And if you're looking for more weather updates, we have a Facebook live session that is scheduled for tonight, Monday, January 8th at 7 p.m. So check us out on Facebook. There will be another forecaster talking about how this system is evolving. Thank you very much. That will conclude our recording for today.